The Super Mario games are full of interesting characters and creatures, so now let's give 3 of them a Speculative reimagining. Hey everyone! We've seen some good guys and bad guys before, and with the new Mario movie being just around the corner, it feels like a perfect time to take a look at more of them, their looks and lore, and adapt them into Spec-Evo creatures. Please like, hype and subscribe to give our video a power up. And now, without further ado, let's get started. Why don't we begin with a classic among classics, the very first enemy, and almost very first thing to ever appear in a Mario game, Goombas. These enemies are inspired by fungi or chestnuts, and we'll keep our speculative version close to that. Just don't get used to it. These organisms are rather similar to toads, but while toads have a mutualistic relationship with their fungus, Goombas are completely overtaken by theirs, usually consumed intentionally upon joining the armies of King Bowser. While the fungus has little to no awareness, and the consciousness of the host will be lost, these organisms will still march on, responding to simple stimuli detected through the photoreceptor patches on the front of their body, as well as small hair-like filaments that detect air currents and pressure. If not given any stimuli, Goombas will simply walk in a straight line. Goombas completely lack hands, since these are overtaken by the fungus and, even if they were not, it would be beyond the ability of the fungus to control them with any degree of dexterity. They are, however, capable of holding stuff, by the simple fact that their mycelium will stick to anything that touches it, allowing it to carry objects until they are removed by Koopas or other individuals. Goombas have a large opening in front of their bodies, which can easily hold matter, and the proximity to a larger amount of mycelium will help quickly digest any biological matter within it. That said, almost all of its mycelium will begin digesting matter on contact through the use of digestive enzymes, causing a painful sensation upon contact. Of course, parts of the body covered in thick layers of clothing, like shoes, are immune to these enzymes. That's the reason why stomping is a preferred method for getting rid of these beings, and the soft tissue they are composed of will quickly fall apart upon contact. While one Goomba may be easy enough to deal with, large numbers can easily rush an opponent, leading to them mostly being used as mass-produced troops. That said, many Goomba variants have been developed for different purposes, both as a result of using different hosts or fungal strains. When using a winged host, the Goomba will retain similar structures that allow partial gliding, while special strains, especially fed and developed from the spore, will create stronger green Goombas. Others, like the pinkish variant, will have lower mass and higher land movement abilities, while others will develop stronger, whitish armor on their bodies. With that out of the way, let us move on to another classic, Chain Chumps. Despite being, in essence, a distillation of dogs to their most basic traits, providing you are afraid of dogs, these creatures have little to no resemblance to the real deal, and rather than trying to fit a square dog in a round hole, I'm changing them up a bit. Being famously large and hard-skinned, and only a ball with a tail, we felt something like a terrestrial placoderm would work. They migrated towards the land after lowering sea levels forced them to move across land, developing lungs similar to those of the lungfish that allow them to extract oxygen from the air. Ever since they migrated towards a terrestrial habitat, their muscular tail, no longer used to paddle through the water, was adapted into a hook-like appendage, which they used to hold onto the tree trunks when resting, that way stopping themselves from rolling away. Should anyone approach a sleeping chump, it will immediately leap to attack, but will luckily be stopped by its hooked tail keeping it anchored in place. When not resting, chumps will leap around using their tails, their small fins serving to stabilize themselves, and will move at deceptively high speeds, crunching any prey that they can find with their enormous jaws. When patrolling their territory, They may also produce loud barks to keep competitors away. These barks being produced by the gnashing of specialized plates located near the edges of their mouth. One of their most striking features is the presence of large eye spots at the sides of their head, a defense mechanism for their marine ancestors, intended to drive away larger predators. This might seem like an absurdity for such a large creature, but with animals as large as the giant morays lurking the seas and coastal areas of this world, this was certainly a pressing need. While land chumps are for the most part free of such predators, the eye spots were retained as a desirable trait by mates. Now let's move on to the big one. DK! Donkey Kong! And let me begin by saying I'm not turning Donkey Kong into a primate. Yeah, I know, but do we really need a video of me telling you Donkey Kong is a monkey? Instead, let me take the donkey part to heart and make something interesting with them, namely a Calicotherium, a very extended extinct animal most known for looking like a weird ape-horse thing. The ancestors of this species of Calicotherium originally decreased in size to adapt to a partially arboreal lifestyle, through which they developed their prehensile digits and tails, as well as an amazing degree of upper body strength. While most populations of this species eventually became extinct, a population reached the island known as Kong Island, not to be confused with Skull Island, through rafting. Once they reached this insular habitat, the ancestors of Kongs underwent island giantism, allowing them to avoid predation by most animals in the island, but forcing them to return to the ground. Young Kongs retain their tails, as well as their arboreal habits, up to a certain age, and will usually sleep among the treetops, where they are safe from land predators. In this island, the Kongs had to adapt to the available food, and while most of it was hard and chewy, like the barrel fruit, hence the shorter, broader snouts and sagittal crest that characterize them, this island also has large populations of banana trees, which the Kongs will collect and hoard for the benefit of younger members of the pack, those who are too small to accompany the foraging adults. The loss of these hordes can be a terrible tragedy for a pack of Kongs. Modern Kong populations show a marked degree of sexual dimorphism, with males being generally larger and more muscular than females. And while their fur coloration presents a lot of variation, females tend to have much lighter fur, while males will eventually develop grayish beards as they age. Kongs are extremely social, and will live in large family groups led and protected by the larger, adult males. While they will occasionally accept unrelated Kongs into their groups, they tend to be rather aggressive to outsiders. This is likely a defense measure against similar-looking creatures they compete with, such as relatives of orangutans and Gigantopithecus. In terms of predation, only the large crocodilians seen in the island and its surroundings are a serious threat to them. While some Kongs have been taken to the continent to be used as performers for entertainment, results have been rather disastrous, to say the least. And that's it for Speculative Biology look into 3 critters from the Super Mario games. I talked a bit about the rationale behind them during the drawings themselves, so there's not really much to add here. I was mostly trying to stay faithful to the original designs and concept, and what form this took varied a bit from drawing to drawing, including removing the more sapient parts of Goombas to keep them as fungoid as possible, to, in contrast, changing the animal that inspired Chumps and Donkey Kong in order to make them more like their OG design and play a bit with the concept, respectively. And it was about time we got to some of these classics too. I had a lot of fun working on them, and I truly hope you had fun seeing them. Huge thanks to all of you who wanted to see any of these creatures, and also many others from the series. Please don't forget to let me know what you'd like to see in future episodes. And also thank you to our researchers and research associates who support us through Patreon and YouTube memberships, and who chose all of these creatures to be featured in one of our polls. If you too want to support the channel and you have the possibility to do so, please consider joining our Patreon. It will give you early access to our episodes and previews of all of our creatures, and you can even help us create them and vote for future episodes on our polls. Or you can also like, subscribe, or write a comment telling me any type of creature you would like me to give the speculative treatment in the show. Any of those really help the channel a lot. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time on the Speculative Wildlife Research Center.